If you're exceptional at anything, fear not, because there will always be plenty, abundance of opportunities for those of you who are exceptional.
Welcome to the Freedom Point Real Estate Podcast, where we talk about creating more time freedom through passive real estate investing. Passive investing in real estate challenges conventional investment wisdom. We are passionate about learning and sharing resources with others who are ready to transform their investing mindset. Quick disclaimer as always, I am not a CPA, I am not an attorney or a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, not telling you or anyone else what to do. The views and opinions expressed in these podcasts are provided for education and informational purposes only and are not necessarily the views of my employer. I'm glad you're here. Now let's dig in. All right. Welcome back, Freedom Point podcast listeners. Thank you again for jumping into yet another episode of the Freedom Point. I'm so glad you're here with us again today. I've got another amazing guest. We're here to talk about something a little bit different this morning, but I'd like to welcome to the show Ante Mihaljevic.
Jeremy, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to our conversation today. And just so that our listening audience knows and understands, Ante is from Croatia, and we spent the last 5 minutes getting to the point where I could correctly pronounce his name. So we'll kind of start with that to open up the show here. But just a little bit more about Ante. Ante is a business communication coach focused on building relationships, improving sales, and developing the full communication potential of individuals and companies. So we're not here to talk about real estate, surprise, surprise, but we are here to talk about some things that are very important, whether you're 17 years old, getting ready to go off to college, whether you're a small business entrepreneur, whether you're in some way, shape, or form a sales professional, right? This is an episode for you. So Ante, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here. Would love to maybe have you unpack a little bit more on your journey and what you're focused on today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And interesting word you just used. It was a journey. It was a roller coaster at moments. And originally, I never wanted to be in sales. When someone told you, like I remember in 2015 or something like that, I was at my local BNI chapter, and this fellow said, "You are a born salesman." And I was like, offended in a way, because I was never identifying with sales, and I kind of thought that it was an insult in a way. And then it got me thinking, like, what's so bad about it? If you want to do it in a moral and ethical way, sales is very good, and it's a very good venue for you to live your talents, for you to show up and show what you've got. So as a former translator, DJ, professor of Croatian and English language, I switched to being a full-time communication coach. My focus is mainly in sales communication, but we're talking about like 80-20 setup, 80 sales, 20 communication, like in-house trainings and keynote events, where I teach teams and people how to communicate more effectively with each other. And the sales part is more aligned with how to communicate with your clients, with your buyers.
Yeah, I really appreciate you unpacking that, Ante. So I'm just going to kind of throw this out there. So I think what you're suggesting is the ways in which you help people or encourage people, coach them, mentor them, et cetera, isn't necessarily as much about how to sell. It's more how to communicate. Am I saying that correctly?
Beautiful. How to connect, how to develop a relationship, how to communicate.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, I was also told as a young lad early on in my college days that nothing happens until somebody sells something in the world, right? Nothing happens until somebody sells something. Would that resonate with you?
I can agree with that. I can definitely agree with that. And I remember once back in the day, also college days, someone said something similar, but from a different angle. They said, the sales don't start until someone says no. or something along those lines. So I would say, yeah, everything is sales. Whenever you're talking to someone who has a potential of buying anything from you, you're selling.
Yeah, it makes sense. I can't think of anything more important to a small business or just a business in general than driving top line sales. So I could only imagine that, through your teachings and coaching and mentorship that, that's certainly something that you provide a lot of value to others. My question now is, really around, what key what key wisdom about business communication do you think most people in your field have forgotten, and why do you think that it's still relevant for us today?
Well, I mean, people buy from people, and people buy from people they trust, people buy from people they like, and people generally like people who are like themselves. One thing I'm afraid we've forgotten is how to deeply connect with other human beings. I think it's quite shallow and superficial. And whenever we try and just be curious about the other person, about what it is that they are all about, what got them where they are now, where they want to go in the future, I think showing this genuine connection really helps build rapport, build trust with people, and close the sale. And this, I mean, 200,000 years ago, we knew how to do these things. 200 years ago, we knew how to do these things. And then came technology and all this rapid changes. Somewhere along the line, I think we've forgotten this ancient wisdom that we need to connect first in order for us to even talk about business.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I really appreciate you reminding us that people buy from people. Okay. People don't buy from companies. They don't buy from, advertisements. They don't buy from spammed emails to their inbox, right? They buy from people. So, what would you say is kind of some of the more practical ways that people can really learn the art of connecting with others in a genuine and an authentic way?
I would always advise people to start within themselves, to really get familiar with who they are, what their values are, what they believe in, their their sense of self. If we don't got that one correctly, then I think along the line there's going to be a lot of bumps. However, if you know who you are, then it really helps to be able to identify in sales who your target audience is, who your ideal customer profile is. Because, I mean, if I don't know who I'm talking to, then my message becomes vague and it doesn't become relevant to anyone. So, knowing who you are, knowing who your target audience is and what they are all about, and also learning how to adapt your communicational styles. Like some people appreciate it when you are direct, just go straight to it. Other people really don't want that. They want you to build relationships first and then talk business. That's a cultural thing, that's a mentality thing, that's a temperament thing. So it really depends. So just to give you like a brief answer, know who you are, know who your target audience is, and know how to talk to them.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I'm reminded I meet with my teenage boys every Friday morning where we talk through some life skills, right? And having this sense of self, having this sense of clarity, having this desire to want to really become a daily better version of yourself, right? But starting there and investing in yourself, and really honestly, it's about crafting your story. I think about, most in the business world today that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, a big part of, what makes them successful is the way in which they're able to effectively communicate their story, right? And we all have a story to tell. The question is how compelling is that story, right? Are others inspired by that story? And certainly how effective are you in communicating to others? And there's a lot of value, especially in the professional business world, for people to be able to share their story with others that can really impact them in a genuine and authentic way.
That's so beautifully said.
Right. Well, what's the persistent, struggle that your clients face when developing their communication skills, and why is it so important, that really people take the lessons that you teach?
I mean, it's important because it, in a way, it lubricates all these relationships that are full of friction. I like to say wherever there's contact, there's going to be friction. And we got to find ways how to lubricate this, and communication, effective communication, really helps in this regard. Uh, and usually, what is very challenging for people is just to accept that there are other people who think differently, who talk differently, who behave differently. And none of us have this monopoly on truth. Like I don't have the whole wisdom of the world and of the universe in my small brain. It just doesn't work like that. And neither do you, and neither does anybody in the audience today. So what really helps to connect is admitting to yourself that you are also sometimes weak, humble, vulnerable, other people as well, and that is something that we share as human beings, and that in as much, I mean, everybody has this ego, but I think we would be better off if we just learn how to put it aside from time to time and see the other person as they truly are. Like, what does ego do? Ego is very conservative. In any given moment, in any given circumstance, ego is going to try and find the evidence that it was right in assuming something. So I might have a belief like, my colleague is really a douche, or something like that. Now, I don't know anything about this person. Now, what will happen usually is that my ego will scan and it will try to find some kind of evidence that will confirm that ego was right. Because what's the point of having an ego if it's sometimes wrong, sometimes right? An ego will find things to really latch onto. And then what happens? I'll start seeing this person negatively. I'll start feeling these negative emotions about this colleague, and I'll start behaving in that way. And of course, if you hit somebody, they're going to retaliate. They're going to feel hurt. And so if I treat someone as if they are a bad person, the chances are that there's not going to be a lot of love in that relationship, and that I'm going to prove to myself that they were bad initially. So I think if we just recognize this, world will be a much better place.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you highlighting that, Ante. And it really reminds me, that life is very much, a team sport, right? And really, at the end of the day, it's important for us to live with each other in an understanding way. We're all different, which is what makes life fun and exciting. And I really like your perspective, on there's this kind of point with contact with others that there's friction, and really what you're suggesting is we need to kind of have the right lubricant, and that lubricant is really your mindset. Am I saying that right?
Yes, sir. This mindset is essential. Is It's very necessary, and it's hard. It's challenging. I mean, even you mentioned raising children, and it's hard for us as parents, as neighbors, as friends, as daughters and sons of other people. It's hard to have this universally accepted mindset. We have to be welcoming and accepting of the fact that not everybody is going to like us, and that's okay. We don't have to indulge everyone. It's totally okay to be yourself, but also to recognize that there is always room for further growth.
That's right. Amen to that. So if our listeners could just take one action step today, right? There's folks listening today, they're, feeling inspired about this conversation, and they're ready, to take action, to improve their communication or sales effectiveness. What action step would that be?
I would seriously consider knowing thyself as a very good idea, as a very good concept. Know who you are. There are different ways, different paths to discovering who you are. I don't think I need to enumerate all of them, but there are different approaches to discovering who you are. And going on some kind of a journey of discovering who you are will reap many benefits. Not only because you will be a better businessman, or I don't know, whatever, but you will be a better parent, better father, better child, whatever. And this will make you feel better in your skin. So, one first step that our audience today could do is go on this path of discovering who they truly are, what they were meant to be. Because at our birth, we were given these specific talents, and sometimes it can happen that people live 60, 70, 80 years without ever truly recognizing what their talents were. Just uncovering this is going to be a very romantic and a very emotional moment of discovering your true self. Audience, you're going to feel like as if you're shaking the hand of a long lost friend the moment you understand what your true purpose was.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate your perspective there, and that's so powerful. Really everybody's got a specific avatar, right? And sometimes we navigate through life and we want to be somebody who we're not, right? But when we embrace the fact of who we are, right, and we double down and really lean into that, that's when real power, growth and discovery and relationships can happen.
I'm Zach Happenstall, CEO and co-founder of Rise 48 Equity. Our goal is to help you protect and grow your wealth by investing in large multifamily apartment buildings. We do all the work as far as sourcing these large apartment buildings from the brokers, doing all of the on-site management with our vertically integrated property management company, doing all the renovations with our vertically integrated construction company. We completely rebrand the exteriors. We will renovate the interiors to our full platinum level scope, which increases the value of the asset to get that profit margin for the investor. If you'd like to learn about how you can partner with us on these exciting opportunities, and go to our website and set up a call with our team.
So being a recovering sales guy myself for almost 25 years in the technology sales space, I know that one of the greatest fears that all outside salespeople have is that they're going to be replaced by inside sales, okay? Or in some way, shape, or form, technology is going to cause their jobs to be obsolete because technology maybe can solve for things like systems, processes, AI, those types of things. Why do you feel like that outside sales guy doesn't need to be too overly concerned and fearful that their job's going to be replaced by artificial intelligence, technology creating systems and processes, and an inside sales dialer?
The ones who should objectively be concerned about it are people who fall into this category of mediocrity. If you're exceptional, if you're exquisite at anything, fear not, because there will always be plenty, abundance of opportunities for those of you who are exceptional. However, if you fall objectively into this category of mediocrity, then there are certain dangers lurking out there. Now, we should not lose hope, because if we look at ourselves objectively and we see, okay, I have room for improvement there. People, it's 2025. We can accomplish very big things just by sacrificing some time on our Netflix or on our phones or whatever, just investing in a specific skill set that will make us competitive at any given moment. AI will certainly make our lives easier up to a point, but some people will be laid off because they're going to be just redundant. The most flexible person will control this situation. Now, one tip that I could give to people is never get tired of self improvement. Work on yourself. When you think you've got it all, when you think you understand everything, especially then work on yourself. Because I mean, any person today, me, Jeremy, you, anybody in the audience today, we earn uh, equivalent to what we think we are worth. And if you have ways of raising your worth, which goes first of all through your self-image, you're golden. You don't have to worry about AI or inside, outside, outsourced, whatever.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I appreciate you breaking that down. I oftentimes have conversations with people about the topic of brand equity, and that we build our individual brands, one drop at a time. Of course, we can lose it in bucketfuls, but really at the end of the day, everybody has a stock price, right? And our stock price is either trading upwards, it's trading downwards, or it's flat, right? And you talk about, being exceptional, right? I look at exceptional as kind of being that pinnacle that sits above good, sits above excellent. You're exceptional, right? So, how is it in a practical sense? How can most people, in your opinion, become a better daily version of themselves? How can they increase, their brand equity? How can they increase, their individual stock prices?
That's a very beautiful question. Complex one, obviously, but a beautiful question. So, first of all, we need to accept ourselves as we are. I'll use this phrase, and I hope I'm not offending anyone, but as God's creatures, as creatures of the universe, whatever you people might believe in, uh, we were designed, created, born, called into life with a purpose. And it's shameful to dig your talents, to hide your talents, not to live them, and not to live them to their full potential. And this is really interesting. It took me some time to understand and accept this, but those talents that were given to us were not given to us to save ourselves, but to help other people. And hiding these talents is dangerous, it's vicious. So that's one step people need to do: learn what your talents are. Then and only then can we start growing. And also, when we start growing, I imagine this as a room, as if like we're in a room right now, you, me, and like 25 other people, and we mingle, we talk, we grow, we develop. And at one point, Jeremy realizes that it's kind of tight in this room, and he looks up, and on the ceiling, he sees a trapdoor. And he could go up there, but then again, maybe he'll never be able to come back. So he just tolerates the situation for some time, but it becomes really crowded. He's growing and he's growing out of proportion. And he goes like, you know what? I'm gonna go and see what's there. You go up there and you realize you can't come back. It's impossible. And it's a bigger room, better room with some new people inside. And for a few years, you grow, you develop, you meet new people, and lo and behold, what happens is that your neck starts to hurt because you're hitting the ceiling again. What do you do then? You look up, trapdoor. How many trapdoors? How many rooms? As much as you please. At any given point, you can grow if that's what you decide to do. And also, you are enough if you decide that that's what it is. So, on this path of self development, I would say know what your talents are and accept yourself as you are, but also be curious and be grateful to what you were designed to be, yet become.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that so much. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that we're created with a purpose, through God's design. And we really need to identify what our talents are and really, lean into those, learn more, become a better talented individual in terms of whatever, it is that, you were created and designed to do. But really at the end of the day, we're here to serve, we're here to help others. And it's amazing if you think about the majority of successful businesses today, they've been able to identify the consumer's pain points and then they solve for that problem, right? Does it sound familiar? We're here on earth with a purpose to help others, to solve their problems, right? And that's really what, corporate America is doing today is they're solving for people's pain points. So I really appreciate your perspective there. Anything else that you'd like to add, Ante?
Well, not that much. I would like to encourage people to be brave. For some reason, I'm under the impression that we live in quite challenging and disturbing times where people are concerned, anxious, and one of the lines I really like from the Holy Scripture is when Jesus says, "Do not worry, do not be afraid, do not be anxious, don't fret." And I really think wholeheartedly, I believe this, that there is not a single reason for us to be afraid. We have to be brave, but this bravery also comes with a price tag and it comes with some obligations. You have to accept the responsibility for your own life. In sales, in real estate, in investments, in fatherhood, motherhood, whatever, there are certain responsibilities. And I don't know, maybe you have a different experience and maybe your audience has a different experience, but I'm under the impression that we live in times where people gladly talk about their privileges, about things that life, society, government, someone else owes them, but it's hard for people to talk about their responsibilities. And I think this is a key to having a more balanced life.
Yeah, amen. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Taking, and accepting, for your own individual, actions, and that we're all responsible, to be good stewards of the time that we're given here. So I would love to maybe learn a little bit more about, kind of what's next for you, individually, personally. Do you have any, big, hairy, audacious goals that you want to accomplish as we, move throughout 2025 and beyond?
Oh yes, oh yes. So my third child is coming, so this is gonna be a wild ride, but okay, it is what it is. Also, I've shifted almost completely to online business, and I used to give in-house trainings in sales and communication. I'm still doing that, but I discovered this platform called School, Skool, and I have my community there for moral and ethical selling in Croatian at this moment, but I'm gonna start a one in English as well. And there's like 700 people inside who are really passionate about moral and ethical selling. And I think there are ways to monetize this community, it goes without saying, but it really uh, it's very alluring just to have this like notion there are people out there who want to learn, who want to grow, who want to develop. And I would really like to dedicate 2025 in this direction, helping people discover who they are, what they can accomplish, and how to get there.
Yeah, makes total sense, Ante. What would be maybe one or two different ways that our listening audience can learn more about with you, connect with you, etc.?
I would love to connect with people on LinkedIn. That's where they can find me. Good luck trying to pronounce the surname, but it's quite easy to spell out. So LinkedIn is the platform where I'm quite often seen. School, but it's still in Croatian. I haven't really developed this English community yet. Instagram is the place where I'm quite often, but LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn will be awesome. It's Ante Mihaljevic. I think somewhere you will be able to see the spelling, so you're going to be covered.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you and being my new Croatian friend. We will certainly put the links in the show notes, including the correct spelling of your first and last name, surname. Really have appreciated the time and the investment that you've made with our listening audience today.
Jeremy, thank you so much for inviting me. It was a real pleasure.
Absolutely. And listening audience, thank you again for joining another episode of The Freedom Point. We look forward to having you join us on the next episode.
Thank you for hanging out with us today and for listening to the Freedom Point podcast, powered by Starting Point Capital. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing said on this show should be considered financial advice. Before making any financial decision, please consult with a professional. This show is copyrighted by the Freedom Point podcast. Written permissions must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting. If you're interested in connecting, you can find contact information at startingpointcapital.com.